Cresswell had a way of changing the classroom. He had a way of making it seem like he wasn't just your teacher, he was something more than that. He was an educator. I don't think teacher's the right word for him. I think he should be something bigger than that. Cresswell had a way of making you feel like you were doing something very current, something that mattered. For example, in my world issues class with him, we did something called Act Up. Act Up was a way of showing that a bunch of grade 12 students could have an impact on the world. That you didn't have to be some big rich person, rich politician, whatever you want to be to make a difference. That someone small can make a difference, and it's got to start from the ground up. For example, I was part of the spoken word group, and I got to sit and talk to a bunch of students that were grade 7 and 8 students, and what we did was we had a video from a child soldier, and we showed them like what it was like to be a child soldier and what it was like to try and move into a westernized country from that state. And you don't realize how big of an impact you can have on a student until you actually have the opportunity to. And I think that the fact that Cresswell took the time to give us that opportunity to be something bigger makes him a better teacher. I mean, like, you can teach from a textbook, you can teach from a curriculum, you can teach from whatever you want, whatever your college taught you, your university taught you. But Cresswell changed that. I mean, it didn't feel like you were in a classroom a lot of the time. It just felt like you were in a conversation with a bunch of students. I liked that aspect of it. It wasn't like you didn't know anyone in your class. You knew everyone. You knew what they stood for. You knew what they thought about things. Especially in world issues, we got to do a backpack. We got to fill it with all these personal things. So it felt like he wanted to learn something about you. Like, his teaching us was a learning process as well, and that's what changed the classroom. It made class fun, it made class interesting, and it made school a lot different. He changed my perspective on university. I didn't want to go to university, and I'm recording this in my dorm room. I think that really says something for Mr. Cresswell. I think that if you went around, especially here, especially at Guelph University, where a lot of his students went, you ask them like what prepared them most for university, and he'd say that all of us would say that it was Cresswell's lectures, it was Cresswell's assignments, because they were all real. They were all something that you were going to do at a higher level education. Our politics essay made me more prepared and more confident in my writing than any other essay I ever did in high school, because it was hard, because he challenged us. He made us believe that we were something bigger, that we were smarter than we actually were, smarter than our schools made us feel. Like, we had conversations in class, and where he made us see that we are smarter than what school lets us be, and we are something bigger than we are at that moment. We can prove that through Act Up, through writing an essay that was harder than most. I mean, Cresswell really did change the perspective of school. Cresswell really did have an effect on all of his students, whether they were college bound, university bound, whatever, because he had a way of making his classes personal to the point that everyone had a positive learning effect. His beliefs on school, his beliefs on marks, his beliefs on textbooks, for example. I mean, when you can learn hands on, when you can learn something the way you want to learn it and the way that kids want to learn it, it's different. It is really different. He didn't hand out textbooks. He didn't hand out books for us to read. We got to choose our topics. We got to choose what we wanted to do, and it was very personal. And that's what made school fun. That's what made his classes fun. That's what pushed you to go every day and to get better, because you had something to give back to Mr. Cresswell. It wasn't just something for yourself. It wasn't to get a personal grade. It was to show him that he's not wasting his time. He showed me that I was good enough for university, and he showed me that high school was a stepping stone to something bigger. And I never thought that until I took a couple of Cresswell's classes. I can speak for a lot of people when I say that Cresswell is one of the best teachers, if not the best teacher that I've ever had, and definitely one of the most positive influences on my high school career and in my life now. He's an old soul with a young heart, and it's just amazing to see his class, like the transition from who you are at the beginning of his class to who you are at the end of his class. I ran a 30-hour family with Mr. Cresswell, and it was one of the best experiences of my high school career, because I got to see that, especially going into international development, that me as just a high school student can make a positive difference on our world. We raised a lot of money and had a lot of fun doing it, and that just really summarized my high school experience with Mr. Cresswell because it was fun, it was exciting, it was something bigger, it was something I didn't think I could do, and he proved to me that I could do it. And Cresswell has a way of making you want something more, and I think that's one of his best attributes as a teacher, is making him want something more through us, and him making us want something more through him. I think that education went both ways in his classrooms, and that's the positive aspect that a lot of his students got out of it. You'd be crazy not to hire Mr. Cresswell for whatever he's applying for. And like I said, he's definitely one of the best teachers I've ever had and one of the most positive role models I have in my life now as a university student, which really says something. Thanks for your time.